an error on my calendar.
Okay.
But here we are, and I'm excited to work with all of you. I've worked with your class before and had great experiences. I don't know, how many times has it been? 4 or 5 times probably over the years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so today I'm coming at you as director of the Successful Communities Collaborative. I'm a sociologist by training. I've been at SIUE since 2004. My contact information is there. I'll share these slides with you afterwards, so feel free to just engage in the conversation, and we'll get the details to you later. So let's move forward. Quickly, I'm going to provide you an overview of SSCC that will put into context both of your guests today, myself with the Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation project, but also our partner in Highland. So quickly, what the collaborative does is we answer this question: what happens if we connect existing courses to a partner? In this case, we're looking at a project that's in-house, but in partnership with the City of East St. Louis. So what if we connect courses to a partner over an academic year or longer in some cases, and work on projects that are important to those partners? And that's what we do in a nutshell. There's lots more to it, but that's essentially what we do. So we've been working with Alton, for example. I was headed in this direction as I was putting my notes together, because one of the successful collaborations we've had with this class is with our inaugural partner of Alton. In that year, students helped us do some public relations because we were brand new. They also planned and hosted our wrap-up event that we had in Alton to highlight the work that our students had done and to just celebrate the end of our first real partnership. So in addition to partnerships with municipalities, we partner with community organizations, and in this case, an on-campus organization or project with a very community-facing attitude, if you will. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about the background of the SIUE Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Campus Center. That's clearly a mouthful, so we shorten it to TRHT. Okay, and I fully expect that you will transpose those letters. In fact, we have an email address that students set up once, and it's THRT. So that's less important than the mission of the work, right? So again, I said that this is very much a community outreach type of project. And so here you see the team and you see that connection to community. Starting with Antoinette Ayers, who is our contact at the IME St. Louis Magazine and Foundation. They are partners on this project because their mission is to change the narrative of East St. Louis, and we share that mission. We want the mission to shift so that it's dominated by folks who call it home. And if that means that they currently live there and have a home or play or recreate or work there, or if they grew up there, right? We want that narrative to be controlled by folks who know it the best instead of outsiders, which historically is what has happened. Another community partner that we have on this is DeWitt Campbell. He's with NCCJ. They do a lot of social justice training, a lot of diversity and equity and inclusion programming. And in fact, the university is partnering with them on a larger scale to offer some of that training to students, faculty, and staff. So they have connections, for example, to the Hub, which is the former Center for Diversity and Student Inclusion, CDSI. I may be transposing some of those letters too. And then on campus, you see our team is composed of folks from theater, professors from theater. We have history students. We have the involvement of the Impact Academy, philosophy, library, history again, and a couple of us from sociology and psychology to round this work out. So what is the work? So Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation is a project based on a national model that the AAC&U, Association of American Colleges and Universities, is working with the Kellogg Foundation to establish more of these centers at universities across the United States to work on the kinds of things that you'll see in subsequent slides. And so the framework that we're using centers narrative change. Hence, you've heard narrative change already, right? You also already heard racial healing in the name of the project. But more generally, we are looking at how do we develop relationships, right? Relationships that, in essence, work to dismantle this hierarchy of human value that we have constructed in our society, whereby white folks and economically privileged folks are higher in the hierarchy than folks with less financial income and with skin that's not white, okay? And there's certainly other ways that we have arranged that hierarchy, but given our focus here, we are focusing primarily on how race has participated and been part of that construction of, valuing some folks higher than others. So we're doing this work to bring about this transformational and sustainable change and to address this historical and contemporary effects of racism that are characterized by the communities that we live in here locally, right? So it is very local, thinking about, for example, what's the relationship between SIUE and the city of East St. Louis? And that's a very complicated relationship, in fact, because our campus started in East St. Louis. But we were part of the hollowing out of resources from that community, and the relationships have been difficult and not healthy in the way that we would like to see them as a result of that. So along with, again, back to that framework, 5 areas: narrative change, the relationship building, and racial healing. We're looking at how separation works, again, through this hierarchy of human value. We're looking at the role of law and how it creates these hierarchies and maintains them, and certainly the economy as well. We know that race impacts folks' experiences and engagement with the economy. Again, it started with the Kellogg Foundation, and now the Association for American Colleges and Universities is a partner, and this has been going on since 2016. So we're one of 25 institutions. We were part of the second cohort of centers established in the United States, but you see that we have a really great company around the country. Rutgers University happens to be one of the models that we look at more closely, just because they're doing some really innovative things. They were part of the first cohorts. They have some experiences that we've been able to learn from, but all of these universities are doing work in these general areas of telling the truth, doing the relationship healing, the racial healing, and transforming their communities. I won't spend time on this. Again, I'll share the slides with you, but you can see how the work we're doing aligns with the SIUE strategic plan in terms of these 3 goals. And it also aligns with the SIUE diversity and inclusion plan. It connects to goals 3 and 4. And again, you can take a closer look at that later. But I think our vision statement really captures our overall goal, although it's a bit wordy as vision statements go. So we are looking at refining and clarifying it a bit. But what we want to eventually do is to serve as a model for community-based racial healing and change in the region. We've got a lot of work, though, to do with our relationship with East St. Louis, and so we want to take care of that first. We want to make sure, basically, our home is in order, right? And the East St. Louis community is as much of a home to SIUE as Edwardsville is. And so we're probably going to spend quite a bit of time focusing on the relationship between those 2 communities before we expand out into the region, but long-term, that is our goal. I've mentioned already how we are looking to dismantle this hierarchy of human value. And so we're looking at how can we connect other folks that are already doing the work, right, and build capacity with those organizations. That's why you see IME St. Louis and NCCJ as part of our work. We are also in early conversations with a religious leader in the community, because we know that the faith-based community is an important piece of this work that we're going to be doing. So we're excited about possibly adding someone from that sector to the team very soon. We do take an anti-colonial position that leverages our privilege as an economically and socially powerful institution. So we are always thinking about how can we use the resources at SIUE, human, financial, material resources, to not only benefit our students so that they have incredibly meaningful, authentic types of experiences where they can apply classroom-based skills, but also so that our communities right, are recipients of some of those resources. They benefit. This is a public institution, or should be shared perhaps more publicly than they currently are. And we also want to establish equal partnerships. So I've mentioned benefits to you as students, but also benefits to community partners. So we're always looking at how do we create those relationships so that there is mutual benefit. And again, our communities benefit as well. How am I doing on time right now?
It's 12:21. At 12:30, we'll
Okay.
the next client.
Okay, so I will move through these. I don't need to go into a lot of detail, but again, you see the goals they include narrative change, relationship building, and transformation. So exactly what does that mean, right? Let's cut to that chase. So in terms of narrative change, we've been engaged in a project that we're calling eStories. It's modeled after the Humans of New York or Humans of St. Louis series, if you have been following those on social media. But we, sociology students and Black Theater Workshop students, have been collecting oral histories from folks who call East St. Louis home. Again, either currently or in this case, Dr. McNeese grew up in East St. Louis. He is now part of the administration at the Springfield School of Medicine as part of SIUE system. But we're using these then digital stories that we're capturing from residents, again, to shift that narrative so that we hear what it was like, in this case, from Dr. McNeese to grow up in East St. Louis. And there are certainly other questions and discussion points that are included, but that's why we're collecting these stories. And then we move them into, again, sort of bite-sized digital pieces. The oral histories themselves could be 30 minutes to an hour and a half. And we know that that's much too long for social media. So we've been working with those to condense them into smaller pieces, creating images like the ones you see here to shine a light on folks who have called East St. Louis home at one time or another. And again, to shift that narrative. Typically, when folks think of East St. Louis, they're not thinking of doctors and lawyers and other kinds of leaders in our community. So by putting those faces out there, again, it helps to shift that perspective. Also, in terms of narrative change, we're engaged in another national project called University Studying Slavery. Dr. Brian Jack is really the leader on this. He's one of the members of our team from the Historical Studies Department. And so in this case, we're looking at the university's relationship with slavery and race relations more broadly. Because of when SIUE was founded, post-slavery, we don't have the same kind of relationship with slavery as someone like Rutgers, right? That has a much deeper history, or the Citadel even, where enslaved folks helped to actually build the campus. They have a different kind of race relation with their local community. But we still nonetheless have a relationship, right? There is a story to be told and something about this place that helps us understand this history. And so Dr. Jack specifically has been looking at Ballpark Village. During slavery, many folks were traded and sold at that site. And so he's working with Missouri legislators to properly memorialize and recognize those spaces and those aspects of our history. We have a Sankofa lecture and dialogue series. We had lots of great conversations. I think one of the most popular, though, was the last one that was titled The Misperception of East St. Louis. And we had 4 speakers from the East St. Louis community talking about their work. And the folks who participated in that have asked for part 2. So Dr. Jack is scheduling that as we speak. In terms of racial healing or relationship building, we're doing something called story circles. If you look at the larger TRHT framework and language, you'll see that they call them racial healing circles. And we're shying away from that because in our experience, there's definitely stories that are told, but it's possible to go through one of these experiences and not talk about race. And we don't want to suggest that folks are going to experience anything related to racial healing if we can't guarantee that something is related to race in the conversation. But what we can guarantee is that in this methodology that we're using, participants will share stories that, again, ultimately we hope will help break down that hierarchy of human value by coming to understand others, by recognizing ourselves in others, and checking that inherent or unconscious bias that we may have through listening to stories. And stories are part of the process, right? Participation in a single story is not going to heal anyone from anything. And so it's one methodology that we see in the context of a larger pathway where folks will develop and come to be engaged in deeper ways with anti-racism throughout their life. And so with that, I will stop. I know I've left lots of things out, but I think that provided an overview, hopefully both for why we're talking to Highland and how the Highland partnership came into conversation, but certainly the second client, or so to speak, here, and that is the TRHT work.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you from the very beginning so I can understand and the students will understand from the beginning, because I have 2 teams and there's 7 students in this cohort. So there will be a team of 4, a team of 3. So you say that TRHT has a location, has an office somewhere or not?
It's not a center in that way, not in the way that there's a STEM center, right, with a space in the science building. I have offices in education outreach, which is next door to the service center in Rentleman Hall. I certainly have my sociology office, and it's more generally housed out of VC Vice Chancellor Jessica Harris's office. She's the new Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Vice Chancellor. But a physical space, much. I say that also, though, because I'll add, though, that I have requested space on the East St. Louis Campus Center. They're working on that, so hopefully we will soon have a physical location there.
Okay, and will there be some budget to develop something? Or you are looking, like always, to develop a campaign culminating with an event somewhere in the beginning, maybe of April next year?
Absolutely. And again, that's where we will have conversations with Vice Chancellor Harris.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, if you, the students, have any questions, please ask.
And if you don't already, you will have my email. I know that you will have questions, and so feel free. My schedule is extremely busy right now because I'm doing a lot of classroom talks like this one. So if I don't respond right away, please do follow up. Because my email gets out of control sometimes, and I don't take that to mean I don't want to answer your question or engage with you. Be so-called pesty if you need to.
Right, and as we accustomed you in the relationship that you have with the PR campaigns students, they are in the process of defining their teams, you know, the roles within the teams, and usually, you know, there should be one person from the team being in direct connection with you, and as we go along, maybe others will be in direct connection. So as representative, you see, I always explain to my students that there is a client organization and the representative of the client organization. In this case of THRT, you are the representative of the client organization. Okay. And
yes.
In the case of Highland, we will have Lucas Pinksker, right?
Correct.
And will you participate also in the presentation from 12:30? Or
I would, yes, I'd like to. And in this case, I'll work more as a support to Lucas and the students on the Highland project. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And again, working with THRT does not mean that we concentrate necessarily on SIE, but it could be on the campus in East St. Louis, right? Or any other activities of SIE per se concerning diversity and exploring ways of kind of atoning a little bit for the past and trying to bring more diversity, more equity in the collaboration between, I don't know, whoever works on the campus of SIE or campuses with the students, alumni, with the communities in which we operate, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that, like always, you know, at the first presentation, everybody's a little bit brainstormed. So they will need to analyze a little bit the material. As you can see, I'm recording this. I will stop this recording so it can save separately, and then I will save them as links. Share, please, also the PowerPoint presentation, and I will share it with the students. But also, I will post this on my YouTube channel and share the link on Blackboard with the teams of students.